Louisville, Kentucky.
Louisville. I've driven through. I was thinking about that all day. I've driven through Louisville several times, and I love it. I want you to tell me about Louisville because it seems like a cool town.
Actually, Louisville's got a lot of great restaurants. Bardstown Road is full of great bars and restaurants, and uh, it's I mean, it's got a share of crime down in some areas, but overall, it's a very nice big town, if you will. Good people. I grew up in Jeffersontown, Kentucky, which is on the east side, and that's when you think my dad paid $19,000 for his house. And that's my dad was a banker, and there were people in my neighborhood that a lot of my friends. Her dad worked at General Electric, second shift, Ford Motor Company. It was just if you will, a bouillabaisse of people.
Wait, they had the car industry was there? You said Ford?
Ford,
Really?
yeah, yeah, yep. A couple of neighbors worked at Ford, but back then, but we had one neighbor that was a florist. And we had all sorts of neighbors in different occupations. But back then, you could afford a home. And I mean it was everything. It was reasonable, and everybody could live together, and everybody had different talents.
So you said your dad paid how much for your first house, his first house?
I believe it was 19,000. 3-bedroom, 2-bath. I'm sorry, 3-bedroom, 1-bath. And then we had the basement remodel and got a second bath.
$19,000.
Yeah.
What decade was that?
That was 1962.
So you said that Ford was there. Detroit, obviously, I don't really know what years. I mean, I guess going into the late 90s, when the car companies got into trouble.
Yeah.
Did that happen in Louisville? Was Ford still a big part of the economy then?
I believe it was. I wasn't in Louisville at that time, but I believe it was.
You were probably here.
Yeah. I know that when the Ford stock really crashed, I bought plenty of it.
Ford never took the bailout, right? Weren't they one of the, famously didn't take money from the government?
That could be correct. I'm not really sure. I don't remember them taking money from the government. I don't remember General Electric taking money from the government, but they could have.
I feel like I remember hearing that, but I don't know if it's true.
Yeah, I don't either, to be honest with you.
So what led you into the restaurant industry?
Well, in 1979, my uncle was a regional manager with Pizza Hut. Before that, he worked for Burger King. My uncle asked me, hey, I needed to mature up anyway, be honest with you. So my uncle, Ron Weiland was his district manager, and he said, would you be interested in, moving to Tampa and talking to Ron Weiland about being a manager with Pizza Hut? Well, I mean, yeah, put me in. I'll do it. I'll do it.
How old were you?
I was a ripe age of 20, just turned 22.
Okay.
Yeah. And so Ron came to Louisville, and he actually interviewed my best friend and I'd hired us both, believe it or not. And so Russell, my friend, we both got a job, went to Tampa, rented an apartment right off Bayshore Drive on Deacle Avenue for $190 a month above a garage. And we were there, I guess probably 5 or 6 months, and Russell decided he had enough of the restaurant life, so he kind of bailed out and went back to Louisville.
Was he managing also, or was he doing something else?
I'm sorry.
Was he managing also, or was he?
Yeah, he was managing also.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we were manager trainees. 4 weeks into my program, which was a 6-week program, at that time, they asked me if I would take over the restaurant on Fowler Avenue in Tampa. no reason other than the fact they needed somebody. It wasn't because of my special talents, I can tell you. And so I said, sure. And, what else was I going to say? So I went over there and met my assistant manager, who I had discovered 2 weeks before I went over there was arrested for trying to beat up 2 Tampa policemen. Her name was Roxanne. So that was the kind of deal I was handed. Pretty rough crew. Never done an inventory during the 4 weeks I was in training. I was learning my numbers, how to get them, the whole 9 yards. And same time trying to turn around a restaurant and, working a good amount of hours. I kept working it, kept taking my numbers in, kept getting yelled at and complained, by Leonard, my area supervisor, which was a hard drinking, cigarette smoking guy. So, I got tired of that after about 3 weeks. So the 4th week, I started inventory, which we did on Wednesday night, worked until I literally saw the sun come up the next morning. I was in there overnight, trying to make sure my numbers were right. And I knew I'd finally nailed them. So I took them in the next day. We had to take our paperwork in to the office on Dale Mabry. Leonard looks over my numbers while I'm there. He goes, well, these look pretty good. I said, you're damn right they look good, Leonard. And I said, you know what? I've had enough of this. I said, I worked all night because I was on my 27th hour, whatever. And I said, I just don't know, man, this is awful. Well, he goes, hold on a minute. Walked out that day with a raise.
Really?
Yeah. So I stood up for myself and it worked out. Got that restaurant turned around. Then they asked me if I would go to Dade City, Florida, which was a orange, a lot of orange fields and orange trees, and people who picked oranges. And, we had a very diverse crew there and a good crew. And I worked there for a while. Then I was in Plant City, Florida. And then suddenly, my district manager, Ron, was promoted to regional manager out in Houston, Texas. And he asked me if I would go to Houston, Texas as a training manager. And he and Leonard came up to me and asked me, and I thought, wow, I must have done all right. They're asking me to go out to Houston, Texas. So got a U-Haul truck, went to Houston, Texas, and that was in 2000, and moved out there during the biggest heat wave they had had in years, and with no air conditioning, but had a U-Haul. So I was in Houston, Texas on Chimney Rock Road for about a year and a half.
So wait, so you left Kentucky, you left Louisville to go to Florida to do the first gig. Did you ever move back to Louisville?
I actually I was on vacation and I was getting my hair cut. And this barber, he owned a barber shop. And he said, hey, what do you do? And he was up at Hirschburn, and which is a nice area of town. And I said, oh, I just, I'm in the restaurant business. I'm training manager for Pizza Hut. And he said, would you be interested in ever coming back to Kentucky? He goes, I got a friend that owns 32 Wendy's here in Kentucky. And I said, well, I didn't think about it. And, he said, well, he goes, I could give Jim a call and set you up with an interview while you're in town. Well, I had to go out and buy a jacket and everything else. I had nothing with me, right? And so it ended up being Jim Patterson, who developed Long John Silver's back in the 60s. He was one of the founders of Chi-Chi's restaurants in the 70s. And later founded Rally's Hamburgers back in the 80s, 1985.
Wow.
And so, he was a big player. I had no idea who he was. And so I had an interview, and they offered me a salary plus what they called at that time. They called it some kind of overtime where they paid you half for every hour you worked over 40 hours. And I told them, I said, well, I'm not really interested in something like that because I'm used to working 60 or 70 hours. I'd like to have a straight salary. And I saw the guy was interviewing me, Dick Barrett, he's one of the partners, and I saw him look at Jim Steele, who was also a big guy up in the organization. And Jim Steele goes, so I ended up getting hired and going to Madisonville, Kentucky, and training there. Then got my restaurant in Hopkinsville, Kentucky. That was the first one.
So how the guy that had started all the guy you were interviewing with that had started rallies and Chi-Chi's and all that, like how did he do that? Like how do you, is that something that you just have like a lot of money and you're like, hey, I want to have an idea for a restaurant? Is it you go get investors? Like how does that work?
He had a lot of money and he had a great vision. And he was one of the most influential people. I've been very blessed in my life because I've always worked for great people. Even Leonard, who kicked my butt my first couple of years, and Ron, I learned something from them all. And even Roxanne, who tried to beat up two policemen. It's like Aerosmith says, I've learned from fools and sages. But luckily, I've had a lot of sages in my life that brought me along and helped me develop. And I was with Wendy's, and then they developed Rally's Hamburgers, and I came on and I went to that side of the business with them in a startup. And we were eventually opening, 60, 70 units a year. So it was a very exciting time.
So when you were opening that many units a year, what did that mean for you? Were you out like scouting locations?
I know I was supporting franchisees, operations. I was not the location guy, but I was overseeing certain areas: Indianapolis, Louisville, Detroit, and Lexington, Kentucky. Those were my major areas there. From there it just grew, and it was very exciting.
So one time you told me that you have known, okay, I don't know the count,